So, do you like to enjoy yourself? Do you like to sometimes not have that be alcohol? Looks like marijuana's on the ballot now here in New York, and I mean by the ballot, I mean it's finally legalized. On last Wednesday morning, Governor Andrew Cuomo signed a marijuana legalization law that the state legislature finally passed overnight. The sponsors of the Marijuana Regulation and Taxation Act said that it'll take a considerable amount of time for the regulatory system for legal cannabis to be created and licensed to be issued, but it will mean that 16 to 18 months before New York will be able to walk in the store and just buy legal weed. We've been fighting for this for way too long, and it seems that we need things like Cuomo getting in trouble for things to actually progress. But
Just
there
remember,
are
Jersey did it
positives.
first.
Yes, they
Jersey did
did,
it first.
and they did a better job with their what do you call it, medicinal marijuana before they decriminalized and legalized it. They had done a much better job being able to get a card and et cetera and having open stores. Um, let's talk about some of the small things that you get here. You are able to smoke outside. You're able to be there anywhere except for in a park because of course that is a state property and you're not allowed to do that. Former pot convictions will be expunged, and adults here will have all their criminal penalties from the past expunged. So we're looking at an overwhelmingly good thing that we just need to laugh and be happy about finally. You're able to have six plants, three that are actually fully grown, and three that are growing at the time. And oops, sorry about that. Three that are growing, and three that are mature. And it's just going to be a very interesting summer here. I don't think that there's a lot of questions about what this is. It's just more that there's the stop and search efforts of the past will start to be slowly removed because it will be harder for them to use marijuana as a reason to arrest you or to stop you and find reasonable cause to search your car, etc. And let's see that the vast majority of the arrests, 85% of them were Black and Latino. So this is going to change the racial disparity. It maybe not change dramatically, but it will change some of the racial disparity in the arrests in New York.
I got a question. So, in regards to like school zones and certain areas where there are children outdoors and everything, how does that work? Did they mention anything about that? Like,
Well,
you know,
that
because
is
I know.
actually just like cigarette smoke. That is so it'll be like the same rules there where you're not allowed to smoke in those areas anyway. So you would
Mm,
have the same kind of ticketing system.
mm, that's not bad. Mm, that's cool.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I'm pretty down with that.
I mean,
Yeah.
and you know
Why
what?
why
It's
so
gonna get
long,
real. It's
man?
gonna get real. It's gonna get real interesting when you can have more than three. Okay, so you can have 3 ounces right now. What happens when in a couple years it's gonna be you're allowed to have 5 pounds because you can grow, and once you can grow a lot even without using extreme measures.
So how are they going to profit? Like I know that a big percentages is for them to help profit off this, right? So how do they plan on profiting by allowing people to grow their own stuff? To me, that seems like kind
Well,
of counterproductive for the state or whatever it is. I'm kind of confused on why they did that.
but
Not that
it
I'm
should
mad,
still
Well,
be a
but
there's
right. No, but it
well,
should
there's
still be
a
a right.
yeah,
yeah.
but there's also going to be people that aren't going to want to grow and everything like that. They'd rather just, especially living in New York, your apartments are tiny as hell already. Where the hell are you going to put more than one plant if you can get even one plant together? Where are you going to put more than one plant? You know what I mean?
Damn, people's
So,
buildings are
but
gonna
also
stink.
there's a huge thing. There's a huge boom in cannabis industry when it comes to businesses. So, they've been having it for a while now. There's been building up to this. Different like conventions where everybody can kind of get together, learning how to start your own business and do all this other stuff. So there's going to be a big boom in the industry as well. So a lot of these people, being able to grow your own, it's going to actually help because I know when Colorado started it, and every other place that when they first started, there's a huge drought that comes into getting cannabis, to provide to the people that are trying to use it for recreational purposes. So allowing people to grow will help as well, especially if they're going to try to get to a professional level where they could be a supplier for any of these other businesses that are actually going to open up, like maybe a small dispensary or a bakery or something like that, for different stuff. I I think it's going to be great. It's going to bring in a ton of revenue, and it's about damn time. And maybe now that New York and New Jersey have both jumped on the bandwagon because we were both kind of hanging out there for a long time, not trying to do it, maybe this will help to encourage those few states that aren't part of it to get onto it, or at least bring the legislation, to the forefront where they can actually just pass it nationally. I mean, at this point, like, really, seriously, just pass it nationally. Stop wasting the time trying to go after these dispensaries in legal places and still trying to take them out because they're still doing that stupid shit over in California and stuff. Just pass it nationally. Make it legal. It's not really hurting anybody. Just do it already.
That's what they say is probably going to happen because of New York and California and everything like that. They're saying if these big cities are doing what they're doing, eventually federally it'll probably become legal. So that's hopeful thinking, right? Wishful thinking.
I mean, nobody's gonna want to trot out to Colorado anymore or
That's
any
just
place like that to do it if they can do it right in their own state, and the states are gonna realize, well, we're losing a lot of revenue when it comes to tourists and everything like that, as well as the stuff that they're from their locals. They're gonna lose that money. It makes more sense at this point.
do you-
I mean, that was one of the main reasons, is that New York itself was already a slightly decriminalized state, so Andrew Cuomo had no reason previously to jump on legalizing. Um, and he was much more eager to find a way to find revenue directly into the state through this. So there's still some loopholes to jump through. The tax is pretty high, are going to, and the actually growing itself is going to be a price control, because in some ways you're going to have people who sell to their friends or just give off stuff to their friends, and in some point, like, it's going to take a couple years. Let's just say it'll take 5 years for that to get to that point. But there are some issues with it too. Like, you made a good point before that I forgot to elaborate on. Like, if you live in New York CHA housing, which is like the housing developments for HUD, etc., you cannot smoke weed indoors. But hypothetically, you also can't smoke cigarettes indoors in those places. So it's like, it's one of those things where, um,
You're gonna lose your
let's
deposit.
just see. Yeah, you're gonna lose your deposit. Yeah.